Wow.
Wow, this is some really deep stuff.
I don't know what just happened, but something happened inside of me. Something snapped, something.
I wasn't expecting that
either. Sorry.
It's okay. It's all right. It's beautiful.
Monster is like really small, but it had to become that to stop me.
And then the hurt child became present when you mentioned it.
And I didn't realize this until now.
There were things that I didn't remember until now.
Funny, I haven't seen that before.
It feels like I'm the monster. I'm kind of seeing images of things. Of a world where they can exist. This clarity brings all kinds of answers.
It's clear. She hugged me and then went back to her place, I guess, in my heart. Oh, it wants to come out. It wants to bippity boppity boop Cinderella me. She's melted into my chest. It's ooey gooey.
All week been finishing things, cleaning up more, started eating vegetables again last week. And it kind of just started happening. It's almost like I just finished going through a meditation session.
I feel light. When you hit that first joint, in the morning, and
I actually feel a lot more awake.
I kind of have, I don't know if it's a part, but it probably is. But when I'm asked a question or asked a question, and then something answers, I don't know. I question that,
Yeah. Where is that answer coming from?
Yeah. Did I create that? Is that just what I think is true? Or is that a deeper recess of my mind that's coming into fruition? Or am I tricking myself,
Yeah. Or is that question even a valid question? What's the difference? What do you mean I created it versus my mind created it?
Yeah.
What? It can get kind of tricky. So
yeah, absolutely.
But those are important questions, and they can be important. They can be important roadblocks for people who are unable to access parts because they that question looms so large, and it can also be the opposite. It can also really open things up as you gain insight around that.
Yeah. Do you know Nick?
Nick.
One what?
No.
Okay. Just more or less, I just they were just all kind of doing this thing, where it's kind of deleting beliefs, deleting limited beliefs, your mind, which is IFS, and then this thing basically called the Lefko method. If you look that up.
The what method?
Lefko, Lefkoe.
Nope.
But if you look into it, yeah, it's just kind of about deleting beliefs, and just it's just a combination of those two things that I kind of signed myself up for doing a few sessions with Jackson Sullivan, but they all kind of do similar things, different aspects, all three of them. And I had I swear to you, I had a mystical experience.
Yeah.
I was how is this happening? But we broke down my core beliefs about myself and how I got to view reality, and just the core parts of myself that I identify with, this is me, based on a lot of childhood memories around ADHD and pills and school, and the beliefs I had underneath that, and the emotions I had underneath that, and the like, I don't want to say twisted perspective, but like my parts perspective of like what happened, et cetera, et cetera. And then like when that was like given like a different perspective, like he like, you know, be like, oh, like, could it be X, Y, and Z? Like, were those plausible? And I'd be like, yeah. And then like, just like a lot of things where I think it's like kind of similar to, I think, schema therapy, if you know what that is.
Sort of.
It's kind of like, it's pretty much that. So like all of that stuff was like gone. Like I got kind of like eliminated the belief that like there's something fundamentally wrong with me, which is a really messed up belief about yourself. And then like a lot of other things that are like rested underneath there about like me and like my social capabilities as a person. And like feeling like very, very, very small and powerless from like, you know, being forced to take like ADHD pills at like 5 and stuff like that. And then like once all those things were able to like be eliminated and to like step aside and like me not feel any internal resonance with like saying those beliefs out loud. And just doing like the therapy like through the screen, kind of like this in a sense. Like I had like an altered state of consciousness for like 5 hours straight.
Wow.
Where, like normally I'm like, I would say like I'm pretty like depressed and like depersonalized, but I felt myself snap into my body, and I felt this enormous like sense of presence, like I was present for the first time in my whole life.
Wow, it's incredible.
Yeah.
And was there any use of the word parts? I mean, do they do any? Is any of it parts work?
Yeah, it was parts work. Like you know, kind of like the like what do you feel in your body? You know, like, you know, kind of starting off like that. Pretty much kind of like what you do, more or less. I don't remember the exact format. I kind of wish I like wrote it down because it was genius. I do have like a general idea of what it was, but yeah, just very, very powerful stuff. And then he's like, oh, like, yeah, just go outside and like let that settle into your mind. And I was not really expecting it to be like this impactful and like this, like, I'd say it's like the best experience of my life, honestly. Like I walked outside and normally I think of things as like super ugly. And like, oh, I hate being here. And like, it's just like very like, screw this. And I walked outside and I was like, wow, like, this is actually kind of beautiful. Like I'm like walking, I'm looking at the plants, looking at the trees. I'm like actually taking them in and being like, huh, I never noticed this. Like normally I'm like very like, I guess, tunnel vision and like, you know, kind of think the same thoughts, do the same things in a way. And like the first time I felt, I guess like referencing Joe Biden's podcast, I felt exponentially empowered. I felt in control. I felt super powerful. I felt on top of the world. Like it was amazing for like 5 hours straight.
Yeah. How
and
long ago did that
like,
happen?
I was like smiling like all the time, like super, super joyful. Maybe like last year.
Okay. And how much of that stuck? Was that one day of bliss, or?
I feel like after the 5 hours, like I kind of returned to like my old self. But there is definitely like a difference, right? Like the things that were eliminated, like the beliefs that were eliminated, I don't believe those like ever. I don't ever get like stuck in like those kind of like thoughts or like experiences.
Wow.
Which is awesome. You know, obviously I still got to like integrate it and like, you know, make changes in my life, et cetera, to really, and probably like do some of the work with myself as well. To really like, you know, grow from it, integrate it, and, you know, apply it.
Well, that sounds awesome. Yeah, I don't think, I hate to compare, but I'm just trying to think of like IFS experiences that I've known about that have been at all similar. And, you know, I definitely think that people have trance-like experiences. They have psychedelic-like experiences. There is deep healing of emotional and belief-based, you know, traumas or pain.
Yeah.
I don't know that I've heard a story quite so, you know, like yours there, where it was just with such intensity. But
yeah.
But maybe one difference or if we were to work together repeatedly, would be that this is about building relationships internally. And so going back and reinforcing them is kind of what it's all about. And
Absolutely. Yeah.
that could be, just a supplement to what you've already done.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So do you want to give it a shot?
Do you mean start? Because I'm ready to start.
Okay. How would you feel about starting with a minute of just quiet meditation?
Sounds good.
Okay, I'll set a timer. And after that, I'm going to ask if you have any parts you'd like to work with. And if you can't think of any, or if you don't know what I mean, that's fine. Just let me know.
Okay.
Or you can just talk about whatever's up for you.
Okay.
Okay, I'll set a timer. Okay. So, do you have any parts that you know of that you'd like to get to know better or change your relationship with?
In this moment, nothing really comes to mind.
Okay. Are there any kind of extreme emotions or beliefs that have come up recently, or just any stories of things that didn't go right, or that you wish, internally you wish you had able to address differently?
I feel like I'm not very good, or I feel like I've kind of been programmed throughout time and experiences to not really show outward what is it like I, I'm trying to recall the expression. It's kind of showing outward. I've kind of been programmed to not show outward interest. If I like something, I kind of just keep it to myself.
Okay.
I'm not this is my thing. I'm not saying I have to do that or but I kind of do admire people who are very out there with what they like and they enjoy and they express that. And they kind of own it. They don't really, they're really afraid to be made fun of for enjoying or liking perhaps the intellectual topics that they're into. Where I feel with me, I kind of just shut up. And I conceal a lot of things from people, and I miss out on a lot of opportunities as a result of that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great. Well, so we can call that a part, if that's all right with you, and try to work with it as a part.
Okay.
And just see what comes up.
All right.
That's all right with you.
Sounds good.
So the shut up part, how do you notice that when it comes up? How do you notice it in your body?
I think it's just manifest as anxiety.
Yeah.
or like, actually, I think it kind of manifests as like anger, but it's really anxiety.
Okay. Are there any other qualities you notice about it? If you were to point to it somewhere, or do you notice any colors or vibrations or push or pull, tension?
Like in my body?
Mm-hmm.
Not really. I just kind of feel heavy.
Feel heavy. Okay. It might help to kind of think of a time when that maybe was extra active. Just try to keep tuning into that, noticing whatever you notice, where it is, what it feels like. And it's fine if you don't have words for all that. Just
stuck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like frozen.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. So as you notice that sensation, how do you feel towards it?
Playful.
Playful? Okay. And what's that playful quality like? What's the message there, or what's the quality of that?
Laughter. I don't know if that's the right answer. I don't know.
Is it an inviting playful, or is it more of a, playful can be a teasing, it can be
No, it's not. It's not malicious. It's like it's playful, like positive, playful.
Okay. Are you feeling curious about getting to know this stuck part?
Yes.
Okay. Great. So do whatever you can to let it know that. Let it know that you're curious about it. And just see if you can get its attention. And if you're able to let it know that you're curious about it, you can kind of invite it to speak with you and ask it what it wants you to know. And just wait for the answer.
I'm overwhelmed.
That's what it's saying?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Does that make sense to you that this part is overwhelmed?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So try to let it know that it makes sense to you and that you want to know more about that state of overwhelm that it's dealing with.
Okay.
Might just ask what that's about.
Okay. There's too much stress, so I can't let my guard down.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And does that make sense to you?
Yeah.
Great. Just let it know that. You could try asking what it's afraid would happen if it didn't get your attention that way, if it didn't shut you up.
Okay. I'd be seen.
Yeah. Is the part worried about it being seen, or is it worried about some other part of you being seen? You could just ask it that.
Another part.
Okay. Yeah. Great. Just let it know that you're seeing that. And that we don't need to go to that other part in this conversation. So we're not gonna pull back that curtain without, its permission and everyone else's permission. So
Okay.
just let it know that. You could ask it how long it's been doing this job of keeping this other part from being seen.
Since 9.
Okay, great. And what's it afraid would happen if you were seen? Or if this other part was seen?
I'd be judged and overwhelmed.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. You just thank it for showing you that.
Okay.
Sounds like it's working, or it has worked very hard since the age of 9 to keep you from that judgment and overwhelm. Does that sound right?
Yeah, it sounds right.
Okay. And how about showing it appreciation for its intention to protect you in that way? Can you do that? Does that feel right?
Yeah.
Okay. Just try to show it appreciation in whatever way feels good to you. And is it receiving that?
Yes.
Great. And how does it like this attention that it's getting right now from you?
It's laughing.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Do you see this part or just sense it?
Sense it.
Mm-hmm. Does it feel close to you, or is there a proximity that you can detect?
I'm not quite sure what you mean by that.
Okay. Well, some people have kind of a 3D sense, and part can feel like it's across the room or sitting right beside me, or
No,
yeah.
It's within me.
Okay. Okay. And the laughter, what's that about? Is it laughing? Is it joyous? Is it relieved? Is it in disbelief? What's the laughter?
I'm sure there's a word for it, but
It's okay. If you feel like you get it, then that's really what matters. So
yeah. It's kind of like a feeling of like, oh, I always knew this was there.
It knew that you were there. You were there to see it and witness it in this way? Or what was there?
It's more like my capacity to self-express was always there.
Right. That's right.
But it's kind of been inhibited.
Yeah. Because it's been important to keep the judgment and the overwhelm away, right? Right. So we would usually refer to the part you're speaking to, the one that shuts you up, as a protector. And the other part that has this capacity to express, but also has felt judged and overwhelmed, might refer to that as an exile. It's been exiled by this protector, maybe other protectors. It's been pushed away, pushed down.
Yeah.
Because that's the part that we don't want popping up and overwhelming us.
Right.
You could ask this protector what it would rather be doing if it didn't have to work so hard in this way.
Making cool stuff.
Okay. Yeah. And how old does it think that you are?
Mm-hmm. 17.
Okay. And is that your real age?
No, I'm 24.
Okay. So you can go ahead and update it on your real age.
Okay.
And if you want, you could ask it a little bit about what was going on at 17. Was there something that made it want to, or feel like it needed to become more active? And again, you don't need to share details of any,
Sure.
It's
just a lot of pressure.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So you can just let it know you see that. You see how it rose to the occasion and helped handle that pressure at that time. And you could try asking it what it needs from you going forward.
I need you to do what needs to be done and to reduce as much stress in your life as possible so that I can be released.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And if you want, you could spend some time, brainstorming with it if it has any specifics it wants to show you about that, or sometimes this is a part of the conversation where we're making commitments and making kind of action plans with parts.
Mm-hmm.
So you can take as much time as you want to work with it in that way.
Yeah.
Sometimes parts don't want to contribute to that conversation and they say, no, you figure it out. So whatever feels right.
Wow. Hmm. Okay.
Getting some good info from it.
Yeah.
Okay. Great. And does it have any requests of you around reconnecting with it? Does it want you to check in with it next week, or is there some way that in the future it might be able to just tap you on the shoulder instead of shutting you down? You just ask it what it would need for that, or if it has any requests around that.
Okay.
Okay. You could ask how it would feel, what it thinks about the idea if you could go to this exile part
Mm-hmm.
that may still carry this belief or burden that if it's seen, it'll be judged and overwhelmed. That if you were able to go to that part and help it out, heal it, comfort it, maybe unburden it from that feeling, that belief, would this protector be open to that. I'm not suggesting in this conversation, but would that help this protector to relax?
It likes that idea. It loves that idea.
Yeah.
But,
do you say it loves it?
Yes, but it really needs the stress levels to go down.
Okay. Yeah. Great. Okay. Well, that's great. You have those two avenues, to work with it in the future. You can work directly with this protector and finding out where those stress points are and reducing them. And then there's this other path of going to exiles, which is it's usually more delicate work. It's more vulnerable.
Mm-hmm.
There might be other protectors that we need to get permission from to do that.
Mm-hmm.
And then, unburdening them so that they're not feeling like they're being judged, and they feel like they have that connection with you,
Mm-hmm.
and that you're there to help them. You're there to protect them so that this other part doesn't have to.
Mm-hmm.
And that could be the big de-stressing, or at least another one,
right,
that this part needs. That's the theory, at least.
Yeah.
Yeah. Does it have any other requests of you, requests of me, questions? Do you have any questions of it that you'd like to ask it while you have its attention?
Not particularly.
Mm-hmm.
I feel kind of at home with this part in law. I'm pretty sure I've met it before.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's been kind of taking control when we call it blending. When it shuts you down, it's trying to take over the driver's seat.
That it does.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you see that. I'm sure you have a lot of other parts that see that. You probably have other parts that hate that, that are fighting back with it.
Yeah, those exist. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And I love what you said about being at home with them. I mean, this is your internal family, and they are. One thing that you said earlier about another system, you were talking about deleting beliefs.
Right.
And I think that may be one of the big differences. It might just be a difference in language, but here it's like, oh no, we're not ever going to get rid of these parts, and we're not going to try either. These are all here for a reason.
Right.
They're all valuable parts of us, and we can learn to love them, and we can learn to lead them.
Right.
And they all have something to offer.
Right.
So, there are beliefs that we might want to unburden. We might want to help them get rid of, but the parts themselves, we want to keep bringing them closer.
Right.
Just in the same way that you worked with this protector. It's just taking the time to get to know each one.
Mm-hmm.
And then, going to those exiles.
Right.
Mm-hmm. So, you can just thank this part for showing up, for sharing what it did, and let it know that you're willing and happy to keep working with it if you are.
Okay.
In the future.
Uh-huh.
And it's another thing that happens in this work is that path gets easier and easier as you continue connecting with each part. It just gets easier and easier to connect with them in the future.
Yeah.
And the dialogue just gets so much more efficient. Just internally, just as you go about your day, you're able to check in with whoever's trying to get your attention.
Right.
Yeah. So, how's it all feeling inside?
Pretty calm.
Mm-hmm. If you did get a glimpse of that exile, you could send it a message that you noticed it, that you learned about it, that you'd like to come meet it sometime and help it out.
Yeah.
And I'd love to help you with that. You can do that with me, another practitioner. You can do it alone. Oftentimes that work is harder to do alone, but
yeah. I feel like this like core fear of what, I don't know. I feel like it's maybe like a fear of like being like myself or like my quote unquote real self or like being seen is sort of like at the root of, of a lot of what I view as problems with me.
yes.
Yeah.
That's exactly that's congruent with this model. That's what it's all about. These exiles are driving usually multiple protectors. So you might have 3, 4, 10 protectors that are all kind of being driven, compelled to work really hard to get your attention, to take over the driver's seat because of these deeper, core, usually younger parts that have been shut down.
Right.
And you can get to them.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Doing some of my own work in investigation and this kind of stuff, I kind of stumbled upon like this concept of like anti-healing parts. I definitely have some of those.
Okay, I'm not familiar.
Like just parts that don't want, like it's like you ever like have you ever encountered maybe like a person or maybe within yourself like, oh, like, yeah, I want to get better, but like in like the backseat of your mind you're like, no,
sure.
Like, no, I don't.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
I just want to lay in bed all day and like through whatever responsibility I need to do. Even if it's good for me. It's kind of like that.
Right.
Yeah.
That's an important part to get to know too. That's definitely sounds like a protective part. It probably has just as valid of a reason for doing what it's doing. It's probably also motivated by an exile.
Right. Yeah.
And we would work with it the same way. You would notice that part. We would say, all right, let's get to know it. What does it want you to know? What does it need from you? What's it afraid of? What's driving it? And again, often you'll find, there's that same exile again. And that's when the efficiency of this work really becomes clear, when it's like, oh, right, if I go there, if I can heal that, it just decreases the burden of all these protectors.
Is like not having like a very, I don't know how to explain it, but like not having like a strong sense of identity or like of being or like of self, is that like a conglomerate of parts?
I'm not sure how to answer that.
Fair. Yeah.
Maybe I don't quite understand the question. A strong sense of identity.
Or like I don't know how to like convey it. It's more of like something I've experienced or like I experienced. Kind of I mean, like you know how like some people like they like live their life by say like a set of values or a philosophy or religion or like a core way of acting.
Yes.
This is more like not doing that.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
like, you don't really have like, you're not operating like consistently by any set of values or anything like that. So I'm not saying like I don't want to or like they don't want to or anything like that, but it's like there's like I was talking to someone else about this where like with me, like I really don't like describing myself, or like if I like to fill out a bio, like I get mad.
Right. Yeah, I understand that. I get that too.
Yeah, or like you can't like there's like just like a huge like aversion to like defining yourself or like describing yourself or maybe even explaining yourself.
Yeah.
Where you're like, you intuitively know you're a lot more expansive and complicated and complex than what can be put into a bio, but that's also tempered with the reality that humans like to categorize things and associate through that.
Well, you had mentioned that this part that keeps you from showing interest, it was saying about something being my thing or expressing what you like. So it might have something to do with.
Yeah, they could be connected. That's
this part.
Yeah,
has been working to keep you from doing that. I have a couple more hypotheses.
Yeah, like growing up, I was always told like, oh, like what is it called? What's the saying? Put yourself out there, which I feel like is the complete opposite of the part that I'm dealing with, right? Like that's the part that makes you not do that. Like that's the part that's like, we're not doing that.
Right.
So what were you talking about with the yeah.
Okay. And you might have another part that says you should put yourself out there. You have to put yourself out there. And that could also be kind of a protective part.
Yeah.
That's saying like that's in opposition with this part that's saying, no, we don't do that.
Yeah. Yeah. It's kind of like that whole thing where it's like, I don't want to be a part of any club that would have me. But to like levels where like you're like extremely lonely because there's like no connection to like community because part of you like absolutely abhors like doing it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I get it. I get it because I have that and have dealt with that a lot.
Yeah, it's kind of like it's almost like anti like growth or like anti change. Like there's like a part of me that like wants to just be like consistent throughout, which is like the antithesis of like what a human is. And I think it might also be connected to another belief that I like found within myself, where it's kind of like having like a fear of like being seen as a hypocrite or like having a fear of being a hypocrite. Which of course I know is like irrational because everyone is a hypocrite at like one point or another, right? It's like a kind of like a in-between phase, or like pre-integration, or like failing to integrate like your values.
Again, from a parts perspective, there are parts that have really good reasons for that. You know what I mean? Like it might be irrational from a logical standpoint, but I'm sure if we were to investigate the parts around that, you would have an understanding of, oh, okay, I understand why you're doing that. And again, I understand maybe the exiles that are driving that. When it comes to identity, I just wanted to highlight maybe two other things that might lend to that. And one is these exiles. The exiles, like you said, this exile, it had this capacity of expression that was inhibited. Right. And so that's what we're talking about. We're talking about expressing yourself.
Yeah.
And as you get in touch with exiles, they have all that juice. They have all that creativity and all those other beautiful creative qualities that are so often inhibited, exiled.
Yes.
And so often that's kind of the key there is as you meet them and as you unburden them, they are able to operate and share that with you and just help kind of guide you in that way so that you are able to connect with those things, those values that you maybe did have when you were 5 and then you stopped, because they were inconvenient or dangerous or whatever else.
Right.
And the other is that the notion of self in IFS is, it's who we really are, and it's the thing that we all have in common, which is this curious, compassionate, connected, caring, creative being that is already in there.
Right.
And so that is a common feature available to all of us as part of our identity, if we can get these parts to give us some space and allow that to come through.
Yeah. Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah. And that's what you were doing today. The one who was talking to the part that wants you to shut up, that's you, that's yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. But like, I don't know, like, isn't there, I feel like, I mean, I guess in this aspect, I could be like really causing my own suffering, but right, like, I think everyone kind of has in their mind some kind of idealized version of their self, or like aspirational self, or like, yeah, like an ideal self that, is totally like awesome and cool and creative, or whatever like they care about. How does that fit in with like your system and like self? Like, because if self is like, I guess, like if self is who you really are, then like where does this idealized self come in? Or is like,
yeah. So we could forget the really are part, because you are also all these other parts. So I kind of like,
okay,
putting my foot in my mouth there a little bit. So there are the aspirational parts. There are parts of you that want you to reach for certain things, to be a certain way, and I would assume most of those are parts that they're pushing, they're managing, they're striving, and there's nothing wrong with that. And they're also a part of you. So, but again, it's likely that a lot of those are protector parts that are working much harder than they'd like to, that are fighting with other parts. And by getting to know them, you can kind of you can stop the fighting and instead lead and be informed by them in your decisions in the world and internally.
right.
Just through dialogue, basically.
Yeah.
I don't know. Did that answer your question?
It did. I'm like, the part of me that I feel is like, when I was talking about like, oh, like I'm anxious, but it's really anger. I think that this is just my current theory, which I guess I'll be confirmed or denied in about 2 months, but because I'm going to get like psych testing. But my theory is like, I think I have like I don't know, maybe like I'm somewhere on like the autistic spectrum, and like I know that kind of invites a lot of anxiety because there's like a lot of like missed stimuli that like you're not picking up on, which is like inherently distressing because you're not picking up on it. And so like with me, I know that I'm not like the most maybe emotionally intelligent person or emotionally aware person.
Okay.
Like I feel like when I feel like intense things, I'm like, okay, cool, but what do I do about it? Like, I can't. Like, I'm just here, and it's just like happening to me. I don't know what to do about it, and so I kind of suffer.
There might be a part that feels the need to do something about it. And if that is, if those emotions are rocking your boat, and there's something that you want to attend to in a different way, then you could see them as parts and get to know the emotions and where they come from.
Yeah, I don't know. There's definitely like a part of me that kind of sees life as like a problem to be solved and loves analysis and like psychology and stuff like that.
Yeah, I got that part too.
Yeah, I like it, but I like really hate it sometimes because I feel like it like really consumes me.
Yeah. These are all, I mean, we're coming up with a great list of parts to get to know. And they're all equally important to get to know.
Right.
And it's just so valuable to be able to go to them in that way.
So like the general idea of like IFS in a sense is that like by doing work like this or like through like the journaling aspect of it or whatever methodology that you're using to do IFS, like through maybe like daily action or weekly action or however many times you want to engage in stuff like this, over time, like your parts will maybe like unburden or like you'll get closer to like self, like you'll get like you like all the parts that are like working over time and like using up all of your like psychological energy kind of like drop off and like you're like more connected to like your parts and what they need, and you're able to give them what they need, and then like they further foster like self and like your idealized version of self.
I think you got it.
That's real. Is that really what it is? That's kind of like,
more or less. Yeah. I mean, that's
okay. Yeah. That's kind of how I always thought about it. I wasn't sure if it was right, but that's kind of like how I like, it's kind of like why I like IFS. So like, that sounds cool. It doesn't sound like anything else.
Well, and the fact that you say you've always thought about it that way you might be a natural, you might have, and which is, a lot of people intuit this long before they've got a name for it. So
yeah, absolutely. Huh. Yeah. Like I've heard like IFS is really just like a practice of like self-love, like over time.
Right.
Yeah.
It is, but I think it's really important to recognize again the nature of parts, the nature of humans as systems, the idea that you are multiple, and the acceptance of that as not a pathology.
Right.
And yeah, so it's also that it's because we've been hearing love yourself forever, right? That's been that's kind of a cliche motto for decades.
Oh yeah.
And this I think gives you those tools, and it also shows what that looks like. It's not just exercising and smiling in the mirror. It's meeting the multiple parts of you and making sure that they are all at home and that they're all welcome.
Yeah.
And that they can express themselves. And yeah.
I've particularly found like the whole like nonviolent communication, universal needs things to be like really, really helpful. Like I feel like it should be like mandatory in school and like elementary. Like but I feel like that'd be kind of controversial because like then it like talk about like childhood abuse and et cetera, et cetera. But like just like thinking of like what do I need right now is so it's so like underrated, so powerful. And
just sprinkle the word part in there. What does this part need?
Yeah, absolutely.
And then that just that little shift, it gives you that awareness of, okay, I can attend to a part, and this part is it's like a person inside of me, and it's going to be there forever. Often its personality might not change over time. So you can, rather than I have a need and I'm going to satisfy it or not satisfy it, it's like, no, I have a family, and the needs are constant and they're changing. Some of them aren't changing, and it's more of being a parent.
Yeah.
And making sure that all your children are doing all right.
Yeah. I've been called like rigid before, and I'm always like, what does that mean?
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, thanks. Like, I don't know. I feel like people mostly say it when they want me to change in their favor, but
Of course.
I also do sense that like, I do kind of feel like I don't really change all that much. Like, I know it's obviously false, but like, maybe I just don't feel like I change in the way that I think I should be changing, or in the direction and like oomph that I think that I should be changing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yep. I'm going to add that to the list.
What do you mean?
Parts to get to know.
Oh, I thought like I gave you like some exquisite idea or something.
Well, it is exquisite. I mean, it's exquisite in that it's a part of you, and it's unique. It's, it's a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
And it deserves your attention.
Yeah. I just meant like idea for like you or something.
I mean, I'm very happy to be doing this, and the theory of it, it's really simple, I think,
right.
What we're doing.
Yeah, absolutely.
So yeah, I'm not cracking as many books about it as I was just a couple years ago when I discovered it.
Yeah, there's just like a lot of people that like at first I was like, oh, like naming them, that's important. It's like, no, it's not. But yeah, I guess a lot of people kind of do it in like little different ways, and they kind of have their own way of doing it for their personal system.
Yeah, the big difference is generally, and that's why I asked you earlier, like, is it parts work or not? If people are doing, because there are lots of ways to do parts work, but then there are other models, most models that don't have that notion of parts, and I think that's probably the biggest difference is when there aren't parts involved, then we're speaking a different language.
Yeah, that's kind of interesting though, like the IFS philosophy compared to something like the AA philosophy.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I think I don't know. I'm not like well versed in like addictions and stuff, but I just think that like the creator of IFS has a pretty interesting take on addictions, and like, I don't know, just this perspective of it. I think he has some quote about how like, basically how like, oh, like you're like an alcoholic because if like that was gone, then something terribly worse would befall upon you, which I do feel is true. I do think that's true. But
right. So the part that makes you want to drink is usually a firefighter part. It's usually, well, it can also be a manager. It's protecting something. It has that idea that, well, if I don't do this, there's something more awful than this.
Right. And then there's like a lot of other like schools of thought in a sense where it's not really about, oh, like this thing exists for a reason and it's trying to help me. It's more like, I hate this thing. I need to get rid of it. This thing is bad.
Right. Well, that's the default, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It's
so we don't need to learn that. That's what we've been told forever.
Right, yeah.
And you can see the success rate for, I mean, whether that's a parent shouting that at you, or that's some, or it's jail, or it's some other modality where these are just irrational beliefs and we just need to get rid of them.
Yeah.
You can see the various success rates, and I'm not saying they're all useless, but
yeah,
I'm all in with IFS. This is
I definitely love IFS. I mean,
great.
Definitely like respect to whoever likes the other like methodology, like philosophies like that aren't like, I don't know. I don't like, I kind of want to say like aren't as loving, but I don't know. I think
Yeah.
I guess it kind of works for certain people. I don't know. I don't really know. I don't really like.
I haven't met anybody who can't do it.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Like, I kind of. I know some people like have very strong like associations with like, oh, this is like good, and then like this is like evil, like a very like I guess like Christian perspective of the world,
Sure.
like part.
Mm-hmm.
And like they'll be like I always get caught up in conversations because I'd be like, yeah, I don't really believe in evil, and then like they give me like the most dastardly look ever, and I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
okay, I guess I've been seen.
Yeah. Yeah. That's hard.
Yeah, but yeah,
Those parts are welcome here. You're welcome here.
yeah,
And yeah, I don't, that's not language that I would use, about a person or a part.
right.
It's,
It's
they have reasons for what they're doing, and they're there.
yeah, it's like a
They're
lot
there
of
for a reason.
like dualism versus non-dualism type
Yeah.
stuff going on here.
Yeah.
Um,
This really explodes that again with the concept of multiplicity. It's such a deeper and richer just field to explore what it means to be human.
yeah, absolutely. I mean, I am kind of the person that like if I could obsess over like excavating every one of my parts, I totally would. Like I would definitely like nerd out over it. Like I would
Okay.
but
I'll send you another booking link, and I'm happy to keep working with you.
I
'Cause that's my obsession.
yeah, absolutely. I definitely want to get to like that level of like just like committed IFS work.
Great. Welcome.
Yeah, like the way that those people speak about like their systems, I'm like, wow, like it sounds like you really know how you work.
That's the whole idea. It's the whole idea. It's about understanding yourself.
Powerful.
It's powerful. I was gonna say you're a lot less surprised by like, again having when the boat is rocking, but really there's even more surprises. They're wonderful surprises, and some of them are also terrifying. But it's looking at something in a way that you hadn't looked at before.
Yeah.
So,
Like I have like parts that are like, oh, I don't have anything to offer the world. I don't have any like special gift. I don't have any talent. There's nothing significant about me. I don't have massive value to add to the world.
Yeah.
And then like, I don't know. I kind of like, part of me doesn't believe that, honestly. But I maybe like I'm of the belief that like maybe if I like, live enough and I, do enough IFS work, then I'll find a unique part of me that I do feel like is significantly like skilled or significant. But if there isn't, I'm not saying it's the end of the world. It's just
if there isn't, maybe you'll just fall in love with yourself as you are.
Yeah. I mean, part of me doesn't like that. Part of me really wants there to be some like gold nugget that I get at the end of the IFS.
Yeah, we will definitely be encountering that part. That's very common. There's a lot of striving parts that want the gold star. They want the recognition, and again, some of that is very compatible with self. I think self also wants good things, but it's generally a less of a idealized destination and more of a process.
And then I have like a lot of parts that are like, am I doing this right? Like, like very like, I don't know, like hallucinating the rules.
Yeah.
Stuff that like really blocks me.
And I also want to let you know that, I've probably heard you name 15 parts in our conversation, and not one of them has been one that I'm thinking, what? I've never heard that before. That's crazy. Like I've met these parts, all of them in myself. I've met these parts in every caller. Every caller has
that's so cool
parts that are sharing pretty much just what you're sharing.
Yeah, so cool. Because you got to, like, I imagine you feel like, kind of like pretty connected to like your callers and like other humans as like a result of like, doing like this kind of IFS work and like witnessing the parts in yourself come up and then like seeing them in others come up. And then of course you can also apply like, whatever skills that you have to like, dealing with whatever part comes up.
Yeah, it feels pretty great.
Yeah, like recognizing when someone is, I don't know, like not in the best frame of mind to make decisions.
Sure.
Like very good with like, I guess like a conflict resolution or it's called.
Yeah, it's a very new take on, it's a very different take on conflict resolution.
Yeah. Just basically.
And you can see it as parts that are fighting instead of you and I are fighting.
Yeah. And I love that, like that calm, curious, compassionate energy. Like whenever I see that in someone, I'm like, I want to spend forever with you. Like
you're in the right place. That's the whole point. That's what we're doing. We are uncovering and shining self. That is the goal of IFS.
Yeah.
Is self-leadership. It's bringing more self to the world. And that's the whole reason I'm doing this. That's what it's all about.
Yeah. Like for example, with like my parents, like they're not the most emotionally intelligent people either. Probably worse than me. But like when I was younger, like I would never, like I don't think I'd ever really share an emotion with my parents. Like I just intuitively knew I can't handle it. Like my parts just knew. Like I remember, like there's things where like your like psyche knows before like your body does. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
Yeah. And I forgot where I was going with this. I feel like it was something you said, but yeah, I kind of lost my train of thought.
It's okay. I was just saying, you're welcome. You're welcome here. Yeah. I'm happy to keep working with you.
Okay.
Check out some of those other calls. You'll hear a lot of this. Again, a lot of these parts coming up in others. If you want recommendations for resources or specific calls, sometimes what one caller is dealing with, another caller is dealing with, and I'll recommend that they check them out or talk to them on Discord or so.
Awesome. Yeah, cool.
Yeah, and I'll send you a link to book with me again if you're interested.
Oh yeah, definitely interested.
Great. Cool. I'm gonna go have dinner. It's nice meeting you.
You as well. Hope I didn't keep you too long.
No, it's
all right. Really I wasn't sure like how long it goes.
Okay.
All right.
Have a good night.
Bye.
Okay. Bye.
Do you want to help bring more self-energy to the world? If you'd like to participate in calls or help out with this project in any way, I'd love to hear your ideas. Join the Discord server or contact me at james@liveifs.com. A huge thanks to our audio engineer, Yvonne, for your care and diligence in editing the calls. To every caller for your courage in sharing some of your parts. And to anyone out there getting to know their internal system, keep going. Who knows, that might be the most selfless, helpful thing you can do for others, and you're the only one who can do it. If you'd like to see us reach the largest audience, we must please the almighty suggestion algorithms at iTunes and YouTube. And they don't care about the power of IFS. They're looking for likes and shares and comments, and the sooner the better. Follow the links in the show notes right here in your podcast player to make your wishes known. And now, a minute of meditation. Or if you prefer, pull over. You can do it in 60 seconds. Just click one of those links. They're right there, and give us a like or a 5-star rating. It would really help. If you think this project is helping people, you're helping people by sharing it. Thank you.